Hi everyone, it's Waggler from my Waggle VR. Sony has just released the new firmware update for PlayStation 4, bringing the system software version from 4.07 all the way up to 4.5. As you can tell by simply skimming the changelog in the description below, it's quite a beefy update, bringing new features such as the ability to install or move applications to an external USB 3.0 drive, or increase the performance of unpatched games running on a PS4 Pro by enabling the so-called boost mode. Embedded in the main firmware package also comes a specific update for the PlayStation VR, bringing its software version from 2.0 to 2.5. This dedicated firmware revision introduces the ability to watch Blu-ray 3D content, meaning you can now enjoy stereoscopic 3D movies without the need of a 3D TV, which is great cause I don't have one. Moreover, the new update improves the image quality of the social screen when exiting VR content, at least according to the official description provided by Sony. What actually happens, in fact, it's a little less exciting. Before the firmware update, removing the headset after having returned to the PS4 home screen from within a VR game would result in the social screen displaying a low-resolution version of the main PS4 interface. The only way to go back to normal high-definition 2D viewing was by closing the VR application running in background. Now, with firmware 4.5, you don't need to do that anymore. Upon removing the headset, in fact, the PS4 home screen gets now automatically displayed at the maximum resolution supported by your TV. Basically, upon detecting the removal of the headset, the processor unit stops mirroring the cinematic mode signal to the screen, acting as a simple HDMI pass-through. Technically speaking, we are not really looking at an improvement of the social screen image quality. This is more of a signal switch. That said, an improvement was actually made to the visual, but in terms of a refresh rate rather than resolution. In fact, the cinematic mode now runs at 120 Hz rather than 90 Hz, resulting in a slightly smoother cinema experience when enjoying non-VR content with the headset. Now, with all that said, there is one improvement introduced by the new firmware which is not mentioned in the official changelog, but nevertheless I believe deserves your attention, hence the video you are watching. Since the release of PlayStation VR 5 months ago, I've spent quite a few hours playing all sorts of games, demos, experiences released for the device. Even though I'm quite happy with it overall, there are definitely some issues creeping underneath the magical sense of presence the system eventually managed to deliver. I won't mention them all here, that's for another video maybe, but the one that really annoyed me has been the quality of the tracking of the PlayStation Move motion controller. As demonstrated in this test video I published last November, the virtual objects supposed to stay attached to my hands would slightly but constantly jitter. This was especially evident when holding the controller still. What was also evident was the fact that the jitter would occur only in one direction, more specifically along the Z-axis, resulting in the virtual objects wobbling back and forth in relation to the PlayStation camera. They were not simply jittering in random direction, they were actually zeta wobbling. Interestingly, this odd behavior would stop while concealing the move sphere from the camera, which indicated that the issue was unrelated to the inertial sensors built into the Move itself. It was clearly an issue with the PlayStation camera, or more specifically, with the way the PlayStation camera estimates the depth of the glowing sphere. That is, by a triangulation, where the intersection of the lines of sight ideally protruding from each camera towards the tracked object allows to infer the distance of said object from the baseline. Now, I have my theories as to why such a stereo triangulation would generate fluctuating values, but that's for another video. The important news to report here is that starting with firmware 4.5, the amplitude of that fluctuation has been significantly reduced. Basically, the zeta wobble is now less annoying. Take a look at these examples. Here is Batman Arkham VR running on the old 4.07 firmware. Pay attention to how much the medical record wobbles relative to my real hand.
Looks like a fragment of the bomb's detonator. I need to analyze the bodies with the forensic scanner.
Now let's see how it behaves running the game on the new firmware.
I need to analyze the bodies with the forensic scanner.
As you can tell, while still not completely steady, there is obviously less wobbling affecting the object.
The coroner identified a piece of shrapnel in one of the bodies. Looks like a fragment of the bomb's detonator. I need to analyze the bodies with the forensic scanner. Find enough fragments.
Let's look at another example. Here I'm holding a virtual mouse in the cubicle of Job Simulator, running on firmware 4.07. Focus on the pointer displayed on the virtual monitor, as it serves as a good reference point. Now let's switch to firmware 4.5. Again, you can easily tell the difference. Last one. This time we are in the tutorial section of the London heist, holding the gun sideways over the table so that the laser sight goes through the drawer. Yeah, it shouldn't, but who cares. Anyway, this is on firmware 4.07. On firmware 4.5 it's like this. Okay, now I could wrap this up and let you go and enjoy the refined death tracking brought to you by the new PS4 firmware. And by the way, please like and share this video before leaving. But if you bear with me for a few more seconds, I'd like to show you a more scientific analysis of said refinement. What follows is a series of measurements I did utilizing a tool specifically designed for assessing how much the amplitude of the zeta wobble has been reduced. Allow me to quickly explain what you are about to see. Here we are in the middle of Batman Arkham VR calibration room. The PlayStation VR headset is pointed towards the Move controller, which is standing upwards at the center of the PlayStation camera view. In real life, this is how it looks like. Now here is what's going to happen. An action camera mounted inside the visor, yeah, I did drill a little cavity into it, will film the Move controller from about the same position the in-game camera displays the virtual one on the social screen, which I will be recording with my capture card. A circular ruler will be attached to the real Move, following its position courtesy of a motion tracking behavior applied to the footage in post-production. Similarly, a little dot will follow the center of the virtual Move sphere, again by a motion tracking in post-production. Now, by overlapping the two video feeds, the action camera one and the social screen one, so that the virtual sphere and the real one match in size and position, we can measure their respective deviations, knowing that the diameter of the Move sphere is 4.5 centimeters long. This is the base value we will use to infer the disparity between the spheres. It goes without saying that the following tests have been conducted under the same light conditions while retaining the same setup. Oh, and you will see me lifting the Move at the beginning of each test. This is necessary in order to wake up the Move tracking processes from the hibernation they fall into after about 10 seconds of complete stillness. If your brain is smoking at this point, don't worry, everything will become quite self-explanatory in a moment. Let's begin our test with Batman Arkham VR, running on firmware 4.07. Now that's quite a zeta wobble, the virtual move drifting away from its ideal position by a little more than 3 cm. Let's rerun the test now, this time on firmware 4.5. As you can see, there is still some zeta wobble going on, but the displacement is not as severe as on firmware 4.07, a little more than 1 cm. Rerunning the two tests side by side here so you can better appreciate the difference. Let's move on to Job Simulator. Here it is running on firmware 4.07. Interestingly, the virtual move didn't drift away as much as in Batman, going as far as about 2 cm from its ideal position. Let's see how it goes on firmware 4.5. Now, at the beginning of this test, the virtual move appears to have jumped a few millimeters above the real one, probably because I lifted the device too high, exposing the mismatch between the distorted view of the action camera and the undistorted view of the direct feed, so ignoring that, it's safe to say we are looking at a displacement of just a few millimeters. Okay, for the last test, let's take a look at the London Heist, because it's a game with plenty of aiming away from the camera situations, which exacerbate the zeta wobbling issue. Let's go straight to the side-by-side comparison this time around. The zeta wobbling appears significantly reduced on firmware 4.5, which makes aiming down the sides at targets to your left or right a less painful experience. The difference here is 2.5 cm versus a little more than 1. In conclusion, considering the data gathered during these tests, we are looking at an average zeta wobble reduction of about 60%. Finally, you might be wondering if the tracking of the VR headset itself or the DualShock 4 has been improved as much as the Move one. Well, based on my experience, it seems that nothing has changed. As you can see in the following comparisons, the DualShock 4 appears to zeta wobble just as much as before. Perhaps the improvement in move tracking was possible thanks to its unique spherical marker, its center being easier to detect compared to the light bar on the DualShock 4. This hypothesis would explain why word wobble is still there as well with regards to the headset, along with the sensor drift occurring both in VR, resulting in the virtual world behaving oddly when leaning, and in cinematic mode. Mind you, I'm not 100% sure nothing has changed, but if there is an improvement, it's not as obvious as the one I've exposed with regards to the Move controller. It goes without saying, I will let you know if I found out more. In the meantime, please feel free to share your impressions in the comments below. Thanks for watching, ciao!